Alrighty, so White Rim Trail. I just made it down the hard Scrabble, which is probably the furthest I'm gonna go on this end of the White Rim Trail. Just logistically speaking, it takes time. I mean, it could be done, but it takes time. So to get you an idea, I left RV 8 o'clock or so, 8:03, right? It's about 11:10. Now 3 hours may not seem like a lot, all right, but you also have to consider that you have to drive 3 hours back, right? And I'm also hitting all those other places. So if I was doing a White Rim Trail, at the pace that I'm doing, when I actually got onto the actual White Rim Trail, it was 9:41 a.m. and it's 11:10 right now. So 9:41, 10:41, and then 11:10. So it's about an hour and a half to get to Potato, which is about 15 miles. So basically, I'm doing averagely about 1 mile, not 1 mile, 15 miles an hour or thereabouts. No, 15. You know what? It's just way too hot. My brain can't think at the moment. It took me an hour and a half to drive 15 miles. There we go. Temperatures are skyrocketing. Oh my God. I got a weather advisory saying that it's probably going to get into high 110s today, which is the reason why I'm staying hydrated as much as I can. Swallow the bug. Tons of gnats at White Rim Trail. Now I'm guessing that's only because it's so close to the river and there's all those scrubs and brush and all this other stuff. Oh, and also I'm standing next to a restroom, which is probably the reason why they're buzzing all around. So my thoughts on hard Scrabble. I envision hard Scrabble to be somewhat similar to John's Canyon that I did way back in beginning of May in Mexican Hat area. I was wrong. On a technical scale, I would say this is like Harap Pass with John's Pass combined, with an addition of sidewall cutting rocks along the way. The tights are very, the turns are very tight. I didn't really stop much. At the only place where I could have stopped, there were a couple of people in Jeeps. I'm hoping that on the way back, I'm going to be able to actually stop in a couple of places and take pictures and film and maybe even show you guys what it looks like. But right now, I'm actually on the bottom of the White Rim Trail. Territorially speaking, Island in the Sky is about there-ish somewhere. This is the Potato something campground. Well, campground is really just a name. There's nothing here. So you do have to keep that in mind. The word campground has a very loose meaning out in the middle of nowhere. If anything, I'm actually willing to wager that Hello Joe Canyon has a better camping-friendly accommodation than White Rim Trail. But that's just my personal opinion based on what I've seen. Because this over here is the campground. Now, I'm not saying anything negative about it. I'm just saying that this is it. Whereas in Hello Joe, there's places to hang your hammock and trees and all, you know, shade and all this stuff. There's none of that here. So, I think what I'll do is I'll rest a few minutes, and start heading back. Hopefully, with ability to stop every once in a while, because it is kind of straining. It's serious business, if I had to say myself. Now, of course, if you're like an avid off-roader, this is probably no big deal. The grade is steep. The danger factor is there, obviously, because you're riding on the precipice. Now, to get you an idea, hard Scrabble, like I'm on the bottom of hard Scrabble, which is the potato bottom on this side, and the other side is the hard Scrabble campsite, also on the bottom. So, where you see those cliffs, where's here? There we go. So this cliff over here. Essentially, what you're doing, you are driving up very tight, high-grade, off-camber switchbacks. At least on this side. The other side is actually decent coming up. But this here, my truck was pitched like this and like that at the same time in a couple of places. I was like, whoa. And then what you're doing is you're not riding all the way on the bottom, whereas you're riding somewhere up and down this thing, and it just keeps going up and 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 I'm guessing the highest point is at the bottom of all that loose rock in there, if I had to guess. The scenery, obviously you get to see everything that's on that side. But you're too far involved in the whole driving mechanism to be able to appreciate it much. There's really only like one area where you could stop, unless you stop on the actual trail. If anybody's coming up and down the mountain and you're heading in the opposite lane of traffic, there's no place to pass except for that one place. So I honestly have no idea how it's even possible to, because there's no way, absolutely no, you'll never have me drive backwards on that trail. I mean, it's just way too sketchy. Way too sketchy. But this is it. So what I'll do is I'll rest some and start heading back. I'll stop in a couple of places, grab the camera, and just show you guys what it looks like. Alright, so we're at one of basically two overlooks along entire Hardscrabble Trail. I think it's very unfortunate that there's not more, because the view from here, I mean, it's because I'm spoiled that I can't appreciate it in a way that I should, because, if I was, like, if this was my first day in the area and I saw this behind me and all around me, I'd be on cloud happiness 9. But I'm, after weeks and weeks in Moab, and this side of Utah, I'm more or less familiar with how everything looks. And so, it's just, in my personal opinion, on the potato side, the views are like, But what you can gauge is somewhat, and camera doesn't do it justice. The grade on everything is quite steep going up. Like from this point forward, all the way to the end of Hardscrabble. It's going up and down and over the boulders and over the Scrabble, and that's the reason why they call it Scrabble. It is somewhat of a pain in the keister. It's very much doable. So I'll meet you over there. So I just wanted to get you somewhat of a flavor for what Hardscrabble is like. This is the easy section of Hardscrabble. See this? There's a lot of tight turning, sort of meandering all over the place, and what it's doing through entirety of the trail is actually just weave. All right, so we are at I'm guessing intermediate portion of the Scrabble, obviously next to the precipice. This part isn't too bad. As you see, it kind of weaves. On this side, you're, well, close to all of this, but it is very much doable even to like a brand new off-road enthusiast. It's getting past, like, that's actually the overlook over there. So getting, like, after that, it gets sketchy for, I would say, a novice. Absolutely. It gets interesting for a intermediate level driver. All right, well, now you get to experience this live, really. Start getting passed by all sorts of crazies. So this is somewhat of more beginning of the more challenging part of the Scrabble. I'm guessing it's gonna be easier coming back because you're like just coasting down the obstacles, if anything. Coming up, you get the sand in a whole bunch of places, which really surprises you because you don't expect to see sand this high up on the mountainside, but it is there. The road gets somewhat narrower, if that's even a word. Well, in places, and it just starts turning and turning and turning. And if you pay attention, like places like this on the right hand side, it's really easy to cut your tire because they're sticking out just far enough to nick your sidewall. And this actually isn't that bad. The road coming to Scrabble, which is supposed to be an easy road, actually has them on like every single corner. Oh my god. See, like sand on the road over there? That's basically it. Welcome to the world of more to live in. See, it's just take your time. You know, like I said, coming up from the Mineral Canyon side is going to be far more challenging than it is to descend coming from the Schaefer Trail side. Simply because you're going down the hill instead of going through the sand. And right now it's not that bad, but I'm guessing after a few drivers get on it, it starts getting really interesting. Ha! I bet you didn't expect me to take you off-roading, didn't you? Look at that. Alrighty, so that was Scrabble in a nutshell. 48 minutes when I timed it coming back. I think it took me a little bit longer to actually come up because of all the sand. Like I said, it starts off fairly innocuous, you know, like if you look at the road, right? No big deal. No big deal, right? And then right around there-ish, okay, is where you start running into all sorts of shenanigans. So basically from like that point all the way up the mountain, probably up to about there-ish, it's sand, sand, sand ahoy. And would you like some more sand with the sand on the side? You have to know how to drive in the sand up the hill. you have to have a properly equipped vehicle, because even if you have a decently equipped vehicle, but you don't have the skill of driving in the sand, or vice versa, you're gonna get into somewhat of a doozy. Now, yesterday, for some content, I went to the Green River Overlook above Spring Canyon area, Hell Roaring Canyon, that whole thing over there. And there was a portion where coming down the sand in one direction, I said, coming back is going to be somewhat sketchy. I kid you not, I was this close to getting stuck in there. This close on the way back. You could have all the practical knowledge and you could acknowledge the fact that it exists, and then you start losing traction, and the worst thing you could do is bury yourself in the sand. So if that starts happening to you, get off the gas. Don't make the whole situation worse, because if you do make it worse, it's going to be that much more difficult for you to get out of that particular sandy situation. I should mention that I am properly equipped. I have recovery boards. I have 4 of them. I have a shovel. I have a garden hoe in the back. I have a jack. You could be as prepared as you can, but sand is a nasty, nasty thing. Sand is what got me at Elephant Hill, which is one of the hardest trails in the United States. And I got stuck on the easiest portion in the sand, out of all places. So do take your time if you come out this way. It's like, if you look behind me, see how it's sort of like zigs and zags and meanders? Each one of those is an actual zig and zag and meander in the road. And once you get over that crest over there, it turns into a completely different bowl of soup. Off camber, high slope, tight turns, that kind of stuff. Not necessarily like technically difficult, but you do have to watch what you're doing, that's for sure. So, what's next on today's agenda? I have plans. I think I'm still running on time. I have plans to basically make it to the Labyrinth Canyon, which is the Moses and Zeus / see how confusing that is, right? Moses and Zeus is in Taylor Canyon, which is also the Labyrinth Canyon because reasons. So I'm going there. I'm not gonna hike Moses and Zeus because I've already been there. And then after that, I'm actually going back past the boat launch, obviously away from the national park, and capturing a couple of places over there. I was there before. At the time, it was easily 112. The last thing I wanted to do was be outside when it's 112 in this weather. And hopefully after that, I'm gonna head back home. And again, because of the distances involved, it seems like, oh, I'm just gonna go there and there, and no. I'll be surprised if I make it back by 6. It's so deceiving here. I mean, it's just crazy. It's like the distances involved. Like, who would have thought, right? Who would have thought that in order for you to get to get from the top of Mineral Canyon switchbacks to the Potato campground is about, I think it says 13 miles. I'm gonna err on side of caution and just call it 15, but I think it's about 12, 13 or thereabouts. It takes forever, right? It took me longer to get through Scrabble one way than it did to go from the top of the switchbacks all the way up here. Like, it catches you in the weirdest of places. So if you're budgeting time, like I know there's people, and myself included, I had every single inclination to attempt counterclockwise and clockwise White Rim Trail in one day. I know people do it, and it makes it for a long day. But oh my god, the longer I'm out here in Moab, the more I realize what a horrible decision that was for me to even contemplate it. As a measuring stick, like chicken corners, for example, 26 miles each way. It takes you a whole freaking day, right? And that's less in distance than the White Rim Trail. So, which is the reason why I made an executive decision to just bite my pride and save it for maybe in the future. I don't know. I'm whatever. Certainly not on this trip. But on this trip, to make it as far as I can within the constraints that I'm comfortable with. So on this side, this would be the hard Scrabble to Potato Hill. On the other side, that's going to be Lathrop Canyon, coming from Schaefer Trail. So I'm actually heading there tomorrow, so hopefully I'll be able to secure a permit tonight. That's kind of it. So I guess our next stop is the Moses and Zeus Taylor Canyon / Labyrinth Canyon area. So see you there. Alrighty, so I'm on a Moses and Zeus trail. I'm actually turned the other way around, coming out of here. Didn't go that far. I just wanted to get a couple extra clips of the area. The road to Moses and Zeus is actually just, I mean, wow. There's cliffs on all sides, there's canyons and ravines, and this off-road is fairly easy for just about anybody to drive on. I'm talking about obviously with a proper vehicle. It's sort of like a prelude to what's to come. Moses and Zeus is probably not the only one. I mean, there's plenty of formations that look exactly like it, but it is one of those that is hikeable. I'm sure if you know where the other ones are, you could probably scramble up to the top, but to have an actual established trail on Aspire is pretty cool. Now, the downside to being out in the sticks like this is the fact that nature is rather untamed. Last time I was at the Moses and Zeus, there was I'm guessing 2.5 foot to 3 foot rattlesnake, still a juvenile. Didn't coil up, but it started shaking its tail and mercifully crawled under a rock. But I did have to do all sorts of avoidance maneuvers, and there may have been some shrieking and screaming involved in process, because let's be honest, coming up on something like that when you're this far away from civilization, not something you want to have. Temperature is creeping up. You know, it's kind of weird, right? If you look on my I don't know if the camera will pick this up, but it says that it's 81. In sun, I kid you not, it feels probably 40 degrees hotter. The heat index is just vicious. My cameras are doing all sorts of overheating shenanigans. And you know, it doesn't help the fact that I don't understand why manufacturers do this, but every single sports camera, 360 degree camera, camcorder, DSLR, like anything, just about anything is made black. Okay, you know what heats up the first? That's right, black colors. That's probably one of the biggest reasons why GoPros overheat, because they just don't have any natural cooling to them. You know, at least like with Sony 4K cameras, which I never owned. I've been eyeballing them for a while, never quite had the courage to actually go out and buy. But they're white. There, like, I won that Sony only because it's white. You know, like, when I go kayaking in Florida, I don't know if you guys paid attention to some of my older videos, but what I do is I buy rolls of white electrical tape, and I just stick it on top of anything black on the kayak, including the cameras. My cameras are plastered in that white electrical tape for that very reason. Now, in coming out here, I haven't done that, and in retrospect, I wish I should have, because that would have given me somewhat of an opportunity not to worry about the overheating part. But so yes, equipment is overheating, temperatures are creeping up. I figure by the time I make it out of the canyon, it's probably going to be in the high 90s at the very least. So alrighty, so I'm inching closer to home. Actually at the mineral bottom, I always get it confused, the exact name and everything, but I'm gonna call it mineral bottom switchbacks. Basically, this is the second entry point on the White Rim Trail. There's three entry points on the White Rim Trail. This is one of them. One is from Moab via Potash Road, 2 is from Canyonlands via Schaefer Trail, and 3 is via the Mineral Canyon Bottom, which is what this is. Basically, it's a series of switchbacks that take you all the way up to the very top, followed by, I'm guessing, like at least 13 miles or so to the asphalt, and then another probably 15 miles or so to Highway 191. So it is a lot of miles to cover, which is the reason why I always bring extra gas. And the reason why I go through gas so much, because there's just way too much driving going on. So despite the fact that that's where I'm supposed to be going, my last stop for the day is one more stop, well, maybe 2 more stops, but both are in the same kind of place, which is way over that way, off by the boat ramp. Boat ramp itself is about, sorry I'm squinting because it's really bright. It's not because I'm angry. I don't wear my sunglasses all the time. So the boat ramp is about a mile. The canyon that peters off of it is about a mile. Tempted to call it Hell Roaring, but that's not Hell Roaring. There's another one right next to it. I think it's called Taylor. I don't know, but either way, I've already been there. I'm just going back for a little bit extra footage. So that being said, right now it's about 2 hours and 30, 2 p.m, 2:30 p.m, 2 p.m, 30 minutes, whatever that is. See, I like this heat, I can't even think straight. And that's with me drinking, like, you know, it is sweltering hot. I'm not sweating, which is really dangerous. It all evaporates off of you faster than... Today, for reference, I've taken 4 2-liter packs with me. I'm already down through 1.5. More than likely, I'm going to finish the half probably by the time I get there, and probably another one by the time I get to the top, and probably another one by the time I actually get to the campground. So you drink a lot, you don't pee at all, which is the scariest part. That's when you really know about the dehydration. You know, there's so many people from up north, especially like the northeastern United States or the northwestern United States, that are not privy to warm climates, and they very much hate drinking water. Like, for some reason, there's just, like, for them, a bottled water is more like a status symbol, sort of like a Starbucks coffee cup. They just don't get the value of hydration. You know, I live in Florida, where everybody has to drink just by nature of the beast. And for me to come to a place like Utah, you know, that whole process is natural. there's so many people that end up in the hospital here in Moab, specifically because of reasons like that. There's signs plastered like everywhere. Drink at least 4 to 8 liters of water per day. And every time I come to Moab, you see a whole bunch of people just at the brink of heat exhaustion. So, drink water. Alrighty, so I am at my last stop of the day, more or less. This is just past the boat ramp in Mineral Canyon Bottom. There's this still unnamed, we're just gonna keep calling it Taylor unless I figure out that it's not. So this canyon kind of sort of goes all the way over there. So I just came from there. It was nice revisiting. I've been there about a week ago, more or less. So I'm just kind of going back to capture a few more spots. So, I'm kind of sad because this may very well, don't hold me to it though. This may very well be my last trip to the westmost part of Canyonlands National Park and this whole corner. To this day, I've been to Hello Joe Canyon, Spring Bottom multiple times. I've done the tops of the canyons. I've been out here multiple times, and of course today, I made it further to Hard Scrabble. I may actually come back to that one. Now that I know what to expect, I may come back to it for a little bit more extra footage. I don't know if I will. It's still kind of, they're projecting super temperatures over the next 10 days. And let's just say I'm not crazy enough to come out here when it's 120, 130, 140, if that's how high it goes. With the heat index is just... So the goal right now is to make my way back up the canyon. And then on that never-ending road that takes you all the way to Highway 313. And then kind of mosey over back towards whence I came from. I still have a very long trip ahead of me. That's just how it goes with those safari trips. Is what it is, I suppose. Like today, functionally, to get you an idea, I've used a whole, well, by the time I would have made it to my campsite, I would have used an entire tank of gas on my Tacoma. So that's about 16 gallons worth. When you off-roading, your fuel consumption goes through the roof with the inclines and whatever. But it is totally worth it to be amongst all of this. It's just... Yep. I've been getting kind of emotional the last couple of days. Probably because I have this mixed thing going on. There's been some tribulations and trials along the way. Certainly over the last several weeks. A whole bunch of issues that were happening before the trip. Just what it actually took to pull this off. I mean, this is just... And to actually be here. And not just like for a day, not for a couple of days, but to actually be here. Engaging in something that a lot of tourists will never engage in, simply because, they fly into Moab, they rent a car, and then they go off and visit Arches National Park or something like that. I've been so privileged, so blessed to have this in my lifetime, to be able to experience this when I'm not decrepit. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have my health concerns, but to still be able to have this when I still have my health, to still be able to enjoy. You know, this could very well be my last ever trip out here. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm treating it as such. I would love to come back, but it's an emotional moment. It's an emotional moment that after weeks and weeks and weeks, you know, as of today is, for sake of timekeeping, today is 6/11/2021. This is as real time as it gets. I got to Utah on 5/4/2021. So it's been basically 6 weeks. 5 weeks, 6 weeks, something like that. And I still have a couple of extra weeks left. I'm still kicking tires when it comes to, because my plans have all just so drastically changed over the last couple of weeks. In ways I'm so far in terms of my original plan, between what's achievable and what's not. I have thought about it to a great extent, and I'm still thinking about it. It's very possible that I'm going to have to forego my trip to Goblin Valley and the Wedge, either entirely for the next trip, if and when it happens, or if I manage to stay in this general area of the country, and I'm not called back before such and such date, what I'll do is I'll do the whole Colorado thing that I was planning, and then actually circle back to Utah and, you know, engage in things like Bryce Canyon, Zion, and I still have my permit for the wave, which is in August. In light of recent happenings that been taking place in the background, the wave could still be pulled off, but the temperatures are brutal. They're only creeping up. The heat index is only going up, and to physically be here and be faced with this reality of maybe not being able to you know, but that's in the future. Today I need to concentrate on getting back home safely to my kitty cat. I still have long ways to go, and the target is still about 6 o'clock, maybe 7 o'clock. I don't know. We'll see. If I get earlier, I may actually even treat myself to some ice cream. So I think I deserved it today. All right. Well, I'm not going to say goodbye quite yet, because I want to show you the actual switchbacks, because that's one heck of a swanky thing. Those would be 3 of the 4 switchbacks here in Utah that are worth mention. The first one is obviously Moki Dugway, which I've already done. Schaefer Trail, which I've already done. Mineral Canyon Bottom, which is this one. And the other one is called the Burr Trail. It's in Capitol Reef National Park, where I was supposed to have been for the last couple of weeks, and plans just drastically changed. So if I manage to do that one, that's gonna be probably end of July, maybe, yeah, probably end of July, thereabouts, something like that. I'll have to see how it all works out, but yeah, So stay tuned. I'll show you the switchbacks. Alright, so I'll take you on somewhat of a ride along. We're at the Long Canyon bottom. I apologize for the camera shake. Obviously, I'm holding it with my hand. All the other cameras that have been used in video production will obviously have stabilized video once I get around to editing. So there, and the camera is probably not picking this up, but there's two very unfortunate souls that have tumbled down the canyon. It's a couple of cars. It looks like all the way back from 1950s or thereabouts. Nobody took time to retrieve them. It's somewhat of a carnage down the mountainside. I can only imagine that they've come from top of the cliff. And how terrifying their last moments may have been, because there's very I mean, those cars are just in pieces. I mean, just there's metal shrapnel everywhere. You know, high grade, very steep, sheer drop walls. It looks like they've probably fallen not from the actual road, but from the top of the canyon. The road isn't too bad. It's kind of rocky in places. It's actually quite wide, which I'm really surprised, because a lot of the roads here of this kind of nature are barely wide enough for one car. Here you could actually easily pass each other on the road most of the way. I mean, there's a couple of narrow spots, but nothing too damaging. So just to get you a general feel for what this road is all about. And then you kind of mosey over that way past the wreckage, which is there-ish and there-ish. And then sort of do a couple more switchamaroos up the mountainside, and then there's a whole bunch of switchbacks that way. Well, there's one car. Looking at the bumper, it looks like it's from 1950s or thereabouts. More than likely haven't fallen from all the way over there. The second vehicle right there is actually in pieces. Here, let me drive forward a little bit, show you what I'm talking about. So it's all mangled up and stuff like that. There's bits and pieces and axles and things. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's actually 3 vehicles. But suppose it's one heck of a you know how they say that life flashes before you when you're about to die? You can only imagine how terrifying something like this must have been, because number one, if they were in vehicles, they would have seen all of this and have a completely different perspective on it in their last moments. Truly terrifying. Alright, with respect to the actual road, for those of you with longer wheelbase, like a Toyota Tacoma, for example, coming down the switchbacks, you may have to do some backing up here and there, do like a multiple point turn. I certainly have to. Coming back up hasn't been that big of an issue, I don't think. But going down is what's been getting me, because this is like my 4th time down and up. And then off on the top over there, you see switchbacks. There's so those really have like really sharp turns. So for a longer wheelbase vehicle like mine, plus with the long bed version, it's somewhat of a pain in the keister. All right, well, this time I'm actually letting you go for certain. Time to head back home and hopefully reserve my spot for tomorrow at the other end of the White Rim Trail. See you there.